our next guest, we're going to talk about the importance of celebrating British cuisine. And you're going to have to excuse my ignorance. What is British cuisine? So we've got a food expert chef who's going to give us an insight into British cuisine. And hopefully it's not just beans on toast. So Chef Marco Pierre White, welcome to the show. Great to have you on board. Give us the rundown, Marco. What is this British cuisine that I'm missing out on, mate?
Well, we're on the Britannia in Liverpool, which is the flagship of P&O Cruises. And this week we're doing lots of specialities of Britain. Is, for example, the finest quality smoked salmon, a delicious lobster soup, beef with Dorset snails. Just very, very simple, but very good and very delicious. But most importantly, delicious quality food.
Absolutely. The thing is, Marco, what it is, I mean, you know, I know it's going off piece a little bit, but there's always been a stigma around British food. And I have to admit, I do love British food. I think that, like you said there, I mean, I've always sort of enjoyed. I even enjoy the simple things, to be honest. But just from the stigma perspective, to anyone sort of listening, we got listeners from around the world as well. Why do you think there's a sort of stigma? Can you sort of dispel that sort of stigma around British foods? I find you can get everything that you can get anywhere else in the world around here, if not even better, to be fair.
Well, British food is proper in the sense that it's real. It's not fluffy. It's not trying to be anything but what it is. I think if you think of a Lancashire hot pot, if you think of a steak and kidney pudding, if you think of roast beef and proper gravy with Yorkshire pudding, it is what it is. And they always say the English never had to make sauces because the quality of their ingredients, especially their meat, was deliciously good, where other countries didn't have such quality of produce. So therefore, they had to teach themselves to mask and to disguise their food by making delicious sauces. But the world has changed. And if you think of British food today, it's become rather sophisticated. And the reason for that was because of a man called the great Michel Bourdin, who was at the Connaught. He used to be the sous chef of Maxime's in Paris when it had 3 stars. And the Wutner family said, yes, you can do your French specialities as long as the other half of the menu is English. And so he said yes. And the great Bourdin came over in the 70s. And then he had to make things like boiled beef and dumplings, steak and kidney pie. But what he did was, which was genius, he'd never made boiled beef and dumplings before, but what he did was he made a pot au four with dumplings, which is one of those delicious beef broths with all the bits, like there's chicken, there's tongue, there's shin. We used to make it at Gavroche when I was a boy, but then he put dumplings with it, and so therefore he wrote it in English, but it was French. Then he'd make a daube de boeuf, for example, but introduce some kidneys to it, slap a pastry on top, and then call it steak and kidney pie. But the truth was, it was a daube de boeuf, topped with pastry with a few kidneys. And that was the beginning of modern day British cuisine. And it took British food to another level. And that man went on to win 2 stars in Michelin, when winning stars in Britain was very difficult and very hard. And in those days, there was only 4 restaurants with 2 stars, no 3 stars, and maybe 10 1 stars. Because in the 70s, Britain was a gastronomic desert.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, it's important to sort of celebrate, the like you've mentioned there, the British cuisine, because obviously I think, sometimes I think it's almost like an easy target. People say they've come over here in the food, and I don't really get it, to be honest, Mark. I've lived in this country.
It's not the case now. If I think of how the food has changed in 40 years, so if I think when I was a boy at the Hotel St George in Harrogate, and I think of food in Britain today, it's changed a lot. I detect your Australian accent. Whereabouts in Australia are you from?
Oh, I'm from southwest Sydney, me, Marco, the Wild West.
Because I've just come back from Australia. I've just spent 2 weeks in Australia with my daughter. And I've got to say, if I think of what the food was like 20 years ago when I went to Australia, and I think of what the food is now, it's worlds apart. 20 years ago, it was very hit and miss. Today, it's deliciously good. And I was just down in Brisbane, the Gulf Coast, and I was in Sydney, and I went to a restaurant called Good Luck, and I've got to say, the short ribs were some of the best I've ever had, and the beef I had on this journey the fillet, the ribeye, and the entrecote, which was all Wagyu, was extraordinary. Because when you think years ago, it was like 5% of people in Australia ate Wagyu. Now it's almost like 90% eat Wagyu. But it's some of the best beef I've ever had. I mean, Australian meat, again, produce is sensational.
No, absolutely. That's a good shout. It has changed over the years as well. And in terms of sort of celebration, can you tell us more about the sort of the 10-year celebration, Marco? What's the rundown around there?
Well, I mean, Britannia's is sort of sailing around the British Isles. So it's 2 weeks it's been on its little tour. And today we're in Liverpool. It had an overnight stay last night. And we drop off. We went to Stowaway, went to Kirkwall. We're going to Ireland next. And it's sort of a little sort of turning the water, really. It's that little snapshot of all these individual places. But what we're doing with the dinner menus is, as I say, we're celebrating the best of British. So there's those great British dishes, like even tonight, we've got strawberries and cream 1877, because in 1877, strawberries and cream was served for the very first time at Wimbledon. And ever since then, it's one of those great British classics and one of those wonderful combinations. But what we do is we make a creme vanille, which is like a very light panna cotta with lots of vanilla. And then we poach the new season strawberries. We just serve the two together. And last night I had the great Tom Parker Bowles, the food critic from the Daily Mail, and he had it, and he was just expecting strawberries and cream because he saw his menu. But when he got it, he thought, "Wow, how did you do the cream, Marco?" And I never told him. I just told him it was cream and vanilla, with a bit of sugar, and a cap of rum. But I mean, but something so simple can be done so well and so deliciously well.
No, absolutely. Yeah, definitely that time of year. And I think it's, even if you're watching Wimbledon on TV, Marco, I'll get the strawberries out and a bit of cream and kind of get
exactly.
Absolutely. And
I
this year,
I prefer to watch Wimbledon from my armchair rather than at Wimbledon.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. And we shall see this year. And last year was really good, but all the hallmarks this year, it's going to be another cracking tournament with some of the key players in form. So that sort of.
But I'll tell you who's an amazing man is Pat Cash.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was a great player, was Pat Cash. But I got to know him a little bit about 20 years ago when I was in London, and he was the most charming man and very graceful, and just loved his tennis, played a great game. But I really enjoyed his company. And the truth is, I'm quite a shy little creature, and so I don't sort of get to know my customers that well. But I got to know him, and I thought, wonderful, wonderful man. And when I've seen him play, he plays well. But I like him as a pundit as well. He's very good. He's very honest.
Yeah, and absolutely, absolutely. I find that really, I like listening to him when he's a pundit too, because he sort of tells like it is as well, and for sure. But in terms of
there's no fluff with it. He's honest. He's straightforward.
No, absolutely. Absolutely tells like it is for sure.
Are you Calabrese?
Sorry, Marco?
Are you Calabrese?
No. My background's from Avellino, near Naples, and they make some pretty. They make some pretty good food. I was there not too long ago.
I mean, I've been to Naples. The only time I've been to Naples is with the P&O cruises. But I've got to say, the food in Naples is sensational.
No, absolutely. The only trouble is, Marco, whenever I go out there, I have more than I probably should. I have pizza and gelato and espresso.
Well, that's it. I mean, let's be honest, that moment of surrender is always the most exciting. I mean, and the pizzas there are sensational. And they're light. You can eat them. You can indulge them. They're not heavy. They're just delicious.
100%. And yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. It's one of them where. Yeah,
it's one of the great cities of Europe. It's underrated, but it's a very special place. And they just won the league this year, didn't they? With Conte.
Yeah. I was celebrating the league. That's I've been following since I was 5-year-old. I used to get up in the early hours of the morning. They used to show it on TV in Australia. Used to get up like 3-4 in the morning to watch them play. And at that point, they started to, they had the influence of Maradona. They won.
Well, Maradona. I mean, what Maradona did for Naples was just unbelievable, wasn't it? God bless his soul.
Incredible. And but yeah, McTominay now, he's been phenomenal. So he'll definitely go down as a hero for sure. But absolutely. And sort of speaking about football, just speaking on football there, Marco. Every now and again, like you'll get a footballer come over to the UK and they might moan about the food or have a cheap shot of the food. And I just want to sort of on a final point, why should British cuisine be celebrated? I think it's great that people like yourself kind of redress the balance, because I must admit, it does annoy me sometimes when people say it just seems like an easy target, British food. And you know, like we've mentioned before, there's loads of foods. Even, you know, Sunday roast. There's so many things that you can eat here. And even you want overseas foods too. It's all available. But why should we celebrate British food, Mark? On a final point.
Well, I mean, when you celebrate British food, really, it's the ingredients. We were just talking about strawberries and cream or boiled beef and dumplings. When it's done well, it's really good. It's like anywhere you go in the world. You know, you can go to France and you know one of those great French specialities. It's just not done very well. But then you go somewhere else and it's done beautifully. Like coq au vin is a great dish. But you can go to a restaurant in France and it's just not done very well. And you can travel the world. And I was in the Gold Coast. I went to an Italian restaurant, which was highly rated. And do you know something? I didn't rate it. Okay, I sat there with my daughter. I had my dinner. I paid my dinner. So I paid for my bill. And I just went on my way. I mean, but the reality, would I go back? No. But if you look at it, was rated very highly. And I was watching them do this Roman speciality. It should be done with pecorino, the sale pepe, but they did it with parmesan, and they do it inside the parmesan wheel. And I was just watching them. Yes, the show's great. But by the time the individual had finished doing what he was doing, the pasta was cold. How does that work?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and for sure, and spot on there. Yeah.
So therefore, I mean, but I've had food. The best food I've had in Australia is when it's done really well. It's really simple. I mean, I remember once I was in Fremantle in a place called Bibb and Tucker, and I just had a spit roast chicken. It was one of the great chickens of my life. And I've always said, the more you do to food, the more you take away from food. Buy beautiful ingredients and do it simple. It's like I was just in the Gold Coast at the museum, OTA, HOTA, the House of the Arts. And the the ingredients are so good there, and the food is so simple. I told you I had the steaks there. I just thought, wow. And I'm not really a steak eater, but I kept on going back for more because it was that good. And when you get something which is that good and it's not messed around with, and it's served hot, what more do you want?
Yeah, and absolutely, 100%. And yeah, it's been great speaking to you.
Very nice, Jimmy.
Yeah, so
you live in Manchester?
Yeah, just on the outskirts, to be fair. Yeah, nice area, to be fair. Nice, in a nice rural area.
United or City?
Yeah, United, I'd have to say, to be honest. Absolutely. And I sort of grew up on United, to be honest, and it's always stayed with me. So, but, you know, look, fair play to City. I think it's always good to have two strong teams. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the two clubs in Manchester make Manchester recession-proof. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they've done for that city.
Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely. I mean, when it comes to football, music, and culture, Manchester's sort of second to none. Marco,
it's the New York of the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brilliant place. You know, vibrant place, and you know, you never think.
Great city. And it's got a great restaurant scene. As you can eat really well in Manchester. It's cool as Manchester.
Absolutely.
What about Man City getting their checkbook out? Wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They've spent some money this last week, haven't they? Cool.
Yeah, they're not mucking around. They want to sort of come out there next season, and this season's not been good for them. But
unbelievable. But Jimmy, can I just say thank you for having me on your show, and thank you for sort of allowing me to share a little bit of Britannia and B&O.
Absolutely.
No, hopefully one day our paths will cross, Jimmy. Petruzzi, I'll never forget that name. Petruzzi, Jimmy Petruzzi.
Definitely. I might make a dish sometime.
Yeah, can you imagine spaghetti alla Petruzzi?
Absolutely. I don't think anyone will go anywhere near it, mate, but we shall see.
I think it'll be a classic. They'll be talking about it like carbonara in 100 years.
Absolutely. Thanks, Marco. All the best,
mate.
Bye-bye,
Jimmy. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.